Thank you, Senator Waters. I call Senator Pratt.
Thank you. Australia has a paid parental leave scheme that federal Labor is very proud of putting in place. It's a scheme that supports Australian families, regardless of their marital status, regardless of the gender of parents. It's flexible, fair and positive, but as we know, it requires continual improvement. And so this bill does just that. It gives families access to more paid parental leave, provides parents flexibility in how they can take that leave, and it encourages them to share care and support amongst the family. It's good for parents, good for kids, good for employers, good for the economy. And so when I reflect on my own life, when my son was young, I had just left the Senate and I didn't qualify for paid parental leave because of the income that I had had in the previous year. But I was delighted that my son's father, who I'm not married to, was able to take that paid parental leave himself. And it actually, I can really see from my own experiences, therefore, the importance of having flexibility embedded in the scheme. I'm glad to see that more mums will now qualify because, in fact, it was discriminating against mums because if they had earned too much money, it would actually have implications inside the policy scheme for who was able to take time off with their children. And so the better interchangeability of this scheme now among parents is really important, as is increasing the length of the payment from 20 to 26 weeks, increasing the period reserved for each parent from 2 to 4 weeks, and doubling the period where parents can take paid parental leave at the same time from 2 to 4 weeks. And it's terrific to see that starting in the middle of this year, 2 weeks of additional leave will be added until we reach 26 weeks. 26 weeks, I think, I'd like to see us continue as a nation to lift this scheme and make it better for families. I was listening to the radio this morning about the declining birth rates in Japan, in Korea. You know, Australia addresses its declining birth rate largely through migration. But if you look in other countries where there are better paid parental leave schemes, they can have a positive impact on people's decision to have children, on employers' ability to retain and attract staff. But one of the issues I wanted to raise in the context of this debate that intersects with it is actually more around the industrial relations rights of people who are pregnant. So, for example, if you get a job with an employer and it takes you don't start to try and get pregnant because you haven't accrued the right to return to your job yet. So you'll delay, ending using the pill or whatever, and you will delay starting a family so that you are confident that you've got a job to go back to. Now, actually, for many people, falling pregnant doesn't happen all that easily, and actually you may find you're then in the position of, okay, you've been in this job now 3 years, you're still not pregnant, but you don't want to leave that job because you will end up with another employer where you have to spend a year in that job in order to accrue the right to return to work with paid parental with either paid parental leave rights or even unpaid rights, which is the right to the return to the job that you left. So in these kinds of examples, you can see real barriers to some of the other debates we've had this week, real barriers to gender pay equity, because women acquire, therefore, a more limited ability to be mobile inside the workforce. So in this context, it's really good to see many major companies in Australia now doing away entirely with the need to wait a year in order to accrue a right to return to the job that you've left if you get pregnant. Gone are the days, it's no longer legal for a prospective employer to ask someone if they intend to get pregnant. But we know that discrimination against pregnant people in the workplace, pregnant women, is rife in Australia. If you look at the work of the Human Rights Commission, it is one of, alongside disability, one of the highest areas of discrimination that people experience. So when we look at issues like government-sponsored paid parental leave, it's really important that we also look holistically at what we need to do as a country to better support women to take paid parental leave, to take leave so that they can have a child. Because the costs in this space, if you end up waiting until the moment in life where you're financially secure enough to think, okay, well, I can survive on just 26 weeks at the minimum wage, or I've got a partner who is able to support me for that period. If you wait that time, all that time, to say, right, my ducks are lined up, I can now take time out of the workforce to try and get pregnant. And if you make that decision at 35 or 36, then actually you are much more likely to end up needing to use reproductive technology in order to get pregnant. So I really do believe we do need to look really holistically at the kinds of expenses that we have here around paid parental leave. Because, I, for one, you should be able to choose the age that you want to fall pregnant, but sadly that is not the reality of life. We do need people to have the ability to consider where their biological window for falling pregnant is, and at the very least to be very mindful and aware of the consequences of making a decision to delay parenthood. I was very privileged to be able to have a child at the age of 42, and my beautiful son is now 9, but it was an expensive road of IVF. But had I been able to have the workforce, security, etc., I would like to see women able to make better decisions in the context of their family as to when and how they are able to have children. So seeing paid parental leave move to 26 weeks and seeing people being able to make well-informed, positive choices about their family formation, the structures of their households, their working life, their relationship with their partner in terms of who works and who stays home, time together with a new child. This foundational paid parental leave is critically important. But it is also critically important in context of our industrial relations scheme and the rights that attach to that, so that we're not discriminating against women in the workforce in unintended ways. And I draw on the example I gave before of women delaying having children because they need to spend time in a particular job for a particular time to acquire the right to return to that job for the sake of job security. In addition, if you then do that, then if women are delaying having children, I don't think it would take much maths really to go away and look at the level of IVF cross-subsidy, which is, it's probably up around $2,000 a cycle at the moment. I'm not entirely sure of what it is currently. But if you have 3 or 4 IVF cycles and then also look at your own out-of-pocket costs, it doesn't take long really to do the math and say, well, can we actually look at having a paid maternity leave scheme that really helps women make decisions around how they want to create their family at a time in their life where they can make the most of their fertility window without worrying about whether they will have a job to return to, without worrying about how they're going to pay the mortgage and keep a roof over their head, in full knowledge that they will keenly return to the workforce if they want to, and they will keenly seek to maximise their workforce participation, if not with the employer that they return to after their maternity leave, then with a new employer. So I would really like to see pregnancy discrimination, paid parental leave, really looked at in a much more integrated way in our nation. But I very much support this bill because it is a very good step in the right direction. Businesses, unions, experts, economists all understand that one of the best ways to boost productivity and participation is to provide more choice and more support for families and more opportunities for women. I commend the bill to the Senate.
Thanks, Senator Pratt. Senator